that you would come in the 21st century and you'd have all this. When you'd walk out this door and get into the woods, you leave the 21st century and go back into the 19th century. I think this is actually fairly effective here at this site. When you hit the end of these woods, you're in a landscape that I think is just looks very different than most of the landscapes that we live in today. We're going to first go out here and go down to the barns. I want to also point this out that as you look, it's very clear the difference between the west side of this plantation property and the east side of this property. All right? All right, here we are on the west side, right? House up here. West side of the house, the work yard up there we looked at in that plan. As we get further west, what do we get? Servants areas, farm areas, right? What we're looking at here, in 1849, James Worthington, Thomas Worthington's son, set up some surveying equipment on the front porch. And he spotted buildings, surveyed buildings, and did their distances and direction and wrote them down in his diary, probably as an exercise. And what he did is he came down and he recorded a corner of the bank barn, a corner of the dairy, a corner of McCormick's house, and a corner of McCormick's stable. In the 1970s, OHS employees got a backhoe, surveyed, right, from the front porch, following that outline, or this James Worthington survey, and came down here and started digging. About 12 feet below the surface here, they hit the foundations and the floor of the spring house. Here, they hit the corner of the McCormick house. And down there, they hit one wall of the barn that was still up. In the 70s, then all this was recreated and interpreted as the farm area. And we're going to come look at some of the things that we found in the landscape. This is Worthington's home, a very, very nice estate home. Very, very different than the tenant farmer house. But this house is a great house compared to what other people further out. The further out you go on the property, the less and less quality houses would exist. To the point now where, some of the servant, we know there's a log cabin for a shepherd named Mr. Henderson, comes to run the sheep pen that Worthington's established in the 1820s. And, who knows where that is? It's somewhere up on the hill above the barn. That's what it suggests. But again, that's a residence that just doesn't kind of leave anything permanent in the ground that can be found. We're going to come down here. In the 70s, the McCormick residence was rebuilt. In 2003, or in the late 1990s, when we were doing archaeology, we ran the dimensions trying to find the corner of this existing stable that was here. And somewhere around here, we hit a corner of a building. Now that building, you lose it going this way and you lose it here. But this corner of the building still exists here. What this was is a horse stable. Why do we think or know that was a horse stable? Because when we did archaeology on both sides of the house, and come up this way, we have an area here where about this side of these trees, we had all kinds of household goods, stuff associated with the house. But on this side, we did archaeology. We found a whole bunch of coins. We found a bridle bit, and I think other pieces of metal that had come off of farm implements. Really, well, why do you think you find coins here? Somebody has to have an idea. Yeah, when do you drop them? That is exactly what happens. Why here, not there? What? It's stuff that falls out of your pockets when they're getting on and off horses. That's exactly right. Right? Why do you think these trees are lined up? Nah. A hammock? No. Why don't trees grow everywhere? Well, we pull them out. We mow them, right? We're certainly not mowing in the 19th century. Cattle or horses or sheep are eating all the grass, right? Why don't they get eaten here? Because it's a fence. That's exactly right. Right? What happens is fence rows that exist have trees that grow up in the fences. If you look at that fence, right, it's all cut. Grass is all cut except right at the fence line. And what happens, the fence stays long enough, you'll get tree growth to pop up there. And then those trees die, and other trees grow either from their roots or they drop seeds or whatever, and you get trees. So often when you're looking at landscapes like this, you can see everything's mowed, but you'll get these pattern of straight trees that's very odd. That's where fences are. That's why on this side you find stuff that falls out of your pockets when you're getting on a horse, and this side you find stuff that you throw out of that house. What's going on here is this is a horse corral, right? That comes directly out of the stable up here on the corner. McCormick's bringing horses down here, attaching them, they're getting on and off them, attaching them to farm implements, and they're taking them from here to farm. What's McCormick doing? What's he overseeing? Why are the horses here? Close to the servants? Is that what you're... Yeah, I mean, McCormick is really a farm manager. He's managing the farm for Worthington, right? Evidently, by looking at things that you look at the landscape, the things that we found that aren't necessarily here we interpret, McCormick is overseeing horses. Horses are valuable. You know, in Virginia, a horse is probably 4 times as valuable as a person. All right? And what happens is those horses are kept up near where McCormick is. He's policing everyone who's on and off the horses, the daily activity of the horses. Right? Down here, the same with the barn. This is called the horse pond on James Worthington's survey. So you have a house, a stable, and a whole landscape associated with bringing horses from here and out. What do the horses do for the farm? Plow. It does. Plow. It's everything. It's your car. It's your tractor. Horse is what runs the farm. It's what makes money, right? The horse is what produces income from the farm. All right. Now we have a building here that is the dairy, right? It's the spring house. We're going to walk down there. I want you to think about how we're getting down there. And then I want you to think about, when you're there, why the doors are like they are. And then we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to go in there about 5 people at a time, and this is a good exercise, because as hot as it is today, we're going to stick our hands in the water, and we're going to talk about that as well.